Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Shasta County Air Pollution Control Board. The members of this board do not receive any compensation or stipend as a result of convening as the Shasta County Air Pollution Control Board. The first item on our agenda is the public comment period open time. As a reminder, pursuant to the Brown Act, board action or discussion cannot be taken on non-agenda items, but the board may briefly respond to statements or questions and, if deemed necessary, refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up and or to schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. Each speaker is allocated 3 minutes to speak. Comments should be limited to matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. We have received several requests to speak, and I will call the names of the individuals in the order that we received the request. Our first speaker this morning is Ms. Betty Plowman. Ms. Plowman, thank you. She will be followed by Mr. Richard Wilkinson. Ms. Plowman, top of the morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me and allowing me to speak. I understand that there will perhaps be board approval today of a letter that you have composed to send to Chairman Mary Nichols concerning the truck and bus rule. And I just wanted to commend you for taking such action. You now join, you're the fourth county to do so. You join Butte, Glenn, and the Great Basin Air District over towards Mono Lake. Now, my purpose is to have more of the rural counties who have been so badly mistreated in this whole episode to join on. So I would encourage you, if you know Air District officers in your, Siskiyou, Trinity, all the way to the Oregon border, that you would encourage them to take the same action. And then I would also ask that you don't stop with just the letter. If you realize the economic devastation that is coming to not only Shasta County, but the entire state of California, it's important that people become aware of this 5 months that we have left before a big part of our trucks disappear. Those would be the 1996 through 99s will be gone in January, and the following January of 2015, every other year will be gone. Now, the sad part is we haven't recovered from the economic devastation that we faced several years ago as we'd hoped. So you also have contractors who got a delay on their off-road equipment, but let me tell you, there was only one reason they got that delay, because CARB's estimates were 340 to 370% off on the matter of pollution that was caused by this equipment. So they had gone in with false information to get this approved, thinking that by 2014 the economy would have recovered and these folks could go out and buy new. Well, I'm here to tell you it hasn't recovered. The work that's out there is public works, which means that the bids are coming in, they're tight, there's not profit left in, and there's certainly not anything left in there for new construction equipment or trucks. So I commend you for the action. I ask you to please stay, realize how serious this is, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Plowman. Mr. Baugh.
Just as a point of information for the community at large and for the board, this board has asked that the letter, once approved, will be forwarded to the Rural County Association of California. All 32 member counties are being encouraged to send similar letters as well, and I will carry it personally to the next board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Baugh. Our next speaker is Mr. Richard Wilkinson, followed by Mr. Rex, the wood guy. Mr. Wilkinson, good morning, sir.
I've been a resident of Shasta County for about 23 years. Anyway, my concern is we used to have global warming. We don't have that anymore. Now we have climate change. And everybody knows climate has been changing for millions of years. But now we have a conflict between geoengineering and climate change. Because of climate change, we have cap and trade now in California, and it affects everybody financially. With all the trucks have to have a $30,000-$40,000 upgrade to operate in California now. Our fuel costs a lot of money, and humans are being blamed for climate change. And now we have geoengineering where they're dumping these metal particles in the air. And why are they doing that? It's to force climate change. So there seems to be a definite conflict between so-called geoengineering and climate change, and we as citizens are being penalized. We have to pay for that, and nobody seems to know who's dusting our skies with these metal particles, whether it's NOAA or NASA. But it has to stop, because in one hand there's climate change. They're doing it for some reason, and us as citizens are paying for it. And I think we have to put a stop to it.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkinson.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Rex, the wood guy, followed by Ms. Marla King. Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir. I really didn't prepare a speech,
That's okay.
but speaking off the cuff, that's me. I'm an honest person. You're talking about the air quality today. Donnie Greenberg wrote an article about me in 2002. I've taken wood to disabled, low income, single ladies with children, and numerous other people for more years than that. I continue to do it today. I delivered a load this morning. I go to construction sites and I pick up the scrap wood that is not taken to the dump to fill up our dumps. These people use this wood for heat. They can't afford air conditioning units, heating units, and the luxuries that many or most of us here have. I just hope that the Air Quality Board of Shasta County is not going to curtail these people in using their wood stoves, such as Butte County is trying to do and has done to some extent. No burn days. How silly are we? You're talking a couple of days a month or whatever. These people have oxygen, the most of them that have problems, which is paid for out of our taxes. Let the people burn their wood stoves. My goodness. I don't take these people treated wood. I don't take these people the wood that contaminates. I know we have to start somewhere with curtailing contamination, containing pollution. But let's not start with the poor, the helpless people. And that's all I have to say. But
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your presentation. Our next speaker is Ms. Marla King, followed by, and I'm going to spell the last name, it's Bob, Reiteabach. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much for the privilege of speaking. I very much agree with the gentleman here. I live in Happy Valley, and the only way I heat my place is with wood. And we need burn days for our agricultural issues. But my biggest concern this morning is with what's happening to my soil. I moved here in Happy Valley 13 years ago. I was able to do farmer's market. It was just my daughter and I. It was our biggest income. And as the years progressed, I noticed my plants, even my gray pines, the digger pines, they're dying. The Uvaria nephofia, the hot poker plants that you can't kill for anything, they started to look deformed, and then they're just dying. And I have a concern because it's called some kind of a conspiracy theory, but that is, I've experienced a change in the soil. And I came here so that not only could we live off the land, but my daughter could take the property when I'm gone, and she could live off the land. That's not possible. I cannot produce things like, viable for the farmers market anymore. So that is my concern. And though I might not be speaking to the jugular vein on this issue, I think the awareness needs to be out there. It's a serious issue. The water, everything's being affected by what they're spraying in the air. And so thank you for your time, and whatever can be done from our county-wise, I would really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. King. Our next speaker is Bob. You're going to have to help me out with your last name, if you wouldn't mind, sir. And
Reitenbach.
I'm sorry, sir.
Reitenbach.
Thank you. And then following you will be Mr. Dave Livingston.
All right, on this air quality control, I come from a little town. I've been up there now 20 years, Round Mountain. And we have a little clinic up there. We have a little bit for doctors and whatever. But up there we have about 600 to 660 people that live up there in Round Mountain. And there's 25 to 30 of them with Alzheimer's already. There's in the area of about 25 live up there with autism, things like that. Not only that, but this pollution stuff that the government's been putting in the air, these aluminum particles. People with asthma are getting hit, and not only that, but even if you didn't have asthma, it is causing asthma because it attacks the lungs. Okay, I worked for the government for over 50 years, and I retired, and I'm one of the few that are alive today because of the things that I had machined for them. And they didn't worry about anything else. And I think this spraying's got to stop because our government right now, the president we have, is actually spraying. The spraying started in about 1940, and it gathered speed through the 50s, 60s, and on. But this president is spraying 60 times any other president has sprayed the air to change climate control, to change weather directions, to change the wind and air currents and the rain, because they want to have this blueprint, and what they're doing is killing people, and he doesn't seem to care. And I think this board here ought to stand up and do something about this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dave Livingston, followed by Ms. Darlene Culpepper.
I think you said Dane Wigington, is that correct?
Sir?
Did you say Dane Wigington? I couldn't quite hear you with the clapping.
Yes, Dave Whitaker.
I was here in front of the board in 2008 to try to present data that was very verifiable. I recognize, I think we all do, that the board can't stop programs that are going on that the federal government is behind. And there's really little debate about whether or not these programs are happening right now, but I believe it is the responsibility of the board to disclose a contamination issue that's very verifiable. We have U.S. Forest Service biologists that are willing to speak to the record on this. I think it's a responsibility to the citizens of the county to disclose any sort of health hazard that relates to air quality issues. We have 60 to 70 tests, Shasta County, that make it absolutely clear that there's an abundance of toxic heavy metal particulates falling in this county. Aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese. There's no debate about this particulate matter being there. Now, the fact that the state no longer tests for aluminum in water as of 2002, that's what we've been told by state water quality. We've been told by, I've been in high-level EPA meetings in Sacramento where I was told, closed-door meeting with five top representatives, a meeting arranged by a congressional rep, that they don't test for anything but combustion particulates only. So here we have the farmers being penalized for particulate matter from their equipment, forced to buy new equipment, while organizations like CARB and all the other states' air quality boards literally look the other way on a source of particulate matter that's probably mathematically 50 to 100,000 times greater. Anybody who drives around this town can see the trees are in very sharp decline. There's two reasons for that, we believe. This excessive particulate matter which is there, regardless of what one wants to consider the source. People can speculate it's coming from China, wherever, even though California Air Regional or Air Resource Board has stated these particulates are not coming from there, and they are here. They're coming from somewhere. But I believe it's the responsibility of the board to disclose this, investigate this issue, put it on an agenda, disclose it to the population, even if the board can't stop the source, which this is what we're told by CARB, because these are federal programs that they can't do anything about it. But now we have another issue as well that I believe it's also responsibility of the board to disclose. We have very, very excessive UV levels, UVB levels that are some 12 to 1,400% above what we're being told. We're metering this in the North State right now. If there's any question about this, we'll supply meters to this board so they can verify on their own. It's burning the bark off of trees, it's burning foliage, it's not being disclosed, and this is also related to air quality because available science data indicates that particulate matter in the upper atmosphere shreds ozone. And I don't think there's many people in this room that haven't noticed how incredibly hot the sun feels. It's not their imagination. Things don't grow. We know this from UV studies. So we have studies from former U.S. Forest Service biologists in Shasta County. Terrestrial insect die-off, as of the most recent study 2 months ago, 90%. Aquatic insect die-off, 90%. Shouldn't this be categorized as a crisis at this point? And how many people will come to Shasta County when all the trees are burnt and or dead? And anybody who's been in the forest here recently, anybody who knows anything about the forest, and that's where I live, that's where I've grown up, the forest is in extremely sharp decline. So if this county exists off its wilderness resources, and we have a very verifiable contamination issue and an extremely verifiable excessive UV issue, all related to air quality pollution, whether or
Mr.
not...
Livingston,
Yeah.
thank you for your presentation.
Yeah.
As you may recall, in 2008, as a result of the presentations that were made to the board, we contacted our federal representatives. And I don't recall exactly, but we may have sent them a video of the presentation. So the board acted decisively and swiftly in that case. And that's an observation, doesn't call for a response from you.
So I'm not allowed to state. I just think it's a responsibility of the board to let the citizens know.
We're very aware of what our responsibilities are, sir. Our next speaker is Ms. Culpepper, followed by Sally Wilson. Good morning.
Good morning. As a citizen and nurse in this community, I have become increasingly concerned over the possible health risks associated with geoengineering in our environment. I would like to know how this is affecting my health and the health of my patients. I would like to ask the board and Mr. Bell what are their views on geoengineering. How much do you know about this and what is being done to ensure our safety? Has there been any recent testing on the water or soil for aluminum or barium? Also, has there been any recent UV ratings, specifically UVA, B, and C? I've been to your website and could find no information on this important subject, but it does state there that you operate monitoring devices to obtain information regarding concentration of particulate matter and ozone air pollutants that may impact on the health of the general public or may damage vegetation and other materials. If this is so, then you must look into the effects of geoengineering more closely and report back to your constituents in the near future.
Thank you for your presentation. Our next speaker is Ms. Shelley Raposa, followed by Cliff Winninger.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Raposa.
There's been a lot of news in the papers lately about the fires up in Siskiyou County, and we've been fortunate lately not to have one here yet. But one of the reasons we are having a lot of these fires has to do with geoengineering. The particulate matter that they are spraying in the air is highly combustible. It lands on the trees, it lands on the ground, it lands in the soil and the water. And then when dry lightning is also caused by geoengineering, when those lightning strikes, it burns like a matchstick once it's ignited. And that is something that I think you need to look into as an air quality board. you're looking at all of the other factors that deal with our air, and you're not looking at one of the largest factors. They're dumping tons of aluminum, strontium, and barium into our air almost every day. For 3 months, I have been chronicling the spraying with my cell phone and posting it on the website. And there are people from all over the world who are also posting pictures of skies that are no longer blue. They're silver, gray, hazy. All you have to do is take a look at the pictures and know these are not vapor trails, because they spread out and they cover the sun, and that is the purpose of them. But where does all that particulate matter go? It falls to the ground and covers the ground and the soils, which is causing, toxic elements where the plants can't grow. The trees burn. The sides of trees that are exposed to the sun are blistered. I've got evidence on my phone I'd like to present to the board of some of these days where the chemtrails have completely obliterated the sun. And this is in Shasta County. So please, if you're looking at air quality, this is another area that I'd ask your board and your air quality board to look into. I've got some brochures here with some great information on it. So can I give this
Sure.
to Ms. Tracy?
Thank you, Ms. Raposa.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chris Winger, followed by Ms. Lee. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. My name is Cliff Weiniger. I've been in Reading about 2.5 years. I retired here. About that same time, I started walking. I walked about 2,000 miles around this town, and as a result, I've seen a lot of things taking place I didn't understand. April 3rd of this year, I learned about geoengineering, and it scared the hell out of me. It's my understanding this board, as you just mentioned earlier, were made aware of it about 5 years ago. I have a question. Have you investigated geoengineering? I don't expect an answer. I've enjoyed my walks, and every day I go out, I walk around, and I look up, and I see these airplanes dumping this stuff on us. And it makes me mad, because I know what it's doing, and I know what it's doing to us. I don't think you folks really understand what it's doing to us. Aluminum, I have a business, by the way, that's in health and wellness, and I'm well aware of health and how to take care of it. Aluminum attacks the nervous system. Barium attacks your immune system. This stuff they're dumping out of the airplanes is so small you cannot filter it out. There's nothing that we can use to filter it. So every day you're breathing this stuff in. You walk outside, you breathe it, you're breathing it right now. This stuff's going into your body. It's attacking your nervous system. It's attacking your immune system. I don't know what strontium does to you, but I know it's not good. Fluoride, they've dumped that on you too. That dumbs you down so that you don't know what's going on. Today, 1 out of every 3 senior citizens that dies has Alzheimer's. That doesn't mean they died from Alzheimer's. That means they have it. That means I probably have it. That means a few of you folks apparently have it too. You need to think about that. This is not something that's happening to everybody else. It's happening to you, just like it's happening to us. And if you don't wake up and start asking questions of our government as to why they're doing what they're doing, it's already maybe too late. This gentleman ahead of me, Mr. Wigington, I've listened to him talk a number of times. This man is very, very afraid. He won't let you know that if he can avoid it, but he is afraid. And all you have to do is watch him. You can tell that. I'm afraid just by watching what he's doing, because he's the expert. I'm not. I've just listened to him, and I've done my own research. I'm not an expert. He is. And it sounds to me like you folks really don't want to listen to what he has to say, and that's your personal mistake. Have you investigated why the government is dumping this stuff on us? Have you even asked anybody in the government why they're doing this? I'm getting a little bit upset, but have you heard a cricket recently? Have you heard a frog? I haven't, and that concerns me because I know what's happening. All our kids right now are going out there and they're swimming in these lakes, and they're swimming in their swimming pools, and they're being exposed to UVB, UVC. UVB, supposed to get 5% of it at ground level. That's the stuff they use in a hospital to kill bugs with, is UVB. We're now getting 70% UVB at ground level. and a new one just came out. We're now getting UVC. The ozone has kept UVC at 100,000 feet. We're getting it down here now. If you think UVB is bad, UVC is fatal to everybody.
Thank you,
I know
sir.
you want me to stop. I have 3 minutes, right?
It's already expired.
All right.
So I would thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Reed, followed by Mr. Alexander. Ms. Reed? Mr. Alexander? Following Mr. Alexander is Ms. Jones. Good morning, Mr. Alexander.
Thank you for the opportunity here today to address the board on the matter of pollution testing. Ensuring a proper environment often necessitates varying degrees and forms of testing of air, of water, of soils, of sunlight to assess the state of things. By this testing, states of pollution can be ascertained. Data thus derived can thereafter be analyzed and reports drawn up. In all this, there must be no bias. Yea, let there be no bias at any point in the decision process, not at the drawing up of reports, nor at the collection of data, nor at the conduct of any test, nor at the selection of those things for which there is to be any testing. Yea, let there be no point whatever in the decision process whereat there shall be any prejudice. Let it well be noted that a thing disregarded is that which consequently is thus shielded from scrutiny. Yet in cases where the thing disregarded shall bring about its own attendant consequences, there is a very real chance for those consequences to be mistakenly attributed to that by which they be not caused. Moreover, there is possibility in such event for outright false attribution. But whether the misattribution be of mistake or of malice, it be misattribution in any event. Indeed, entire regulatory regimes can be made to result from such misattribution. One such regime comes to mind immediately, one whereunder expected climatologic perturbations be misattributed to such things as private transportation, gainful employment, and personal privacy. All this, while the thing disregarded, remains shielded from scrutiny. After all, what is the point of shining the light of scrutiny on such things as the high-altitude dispersal of aerosolized heavy metals when it be much more politically convenient to scapegoat the public? Why test for such things as aluminum, barium salts, strontium, mercury traces, etc., not to mention UVB, UVC, and X-ray, when it is much easier to blame private transportation, gainful employment, and personal privacy, among other things? Seriously, the tools, traces, etc. of geoengineering must never again be disregarded. Indeed, let the honest and exhaustive scrutiny of them here inform all who would follow after us. There may be those who would scorn us for this, but here we have an opportunity to provide bold leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Next speaker is Ms. Jones, followed by Mr. Kent. Good morning.
Hi. Thank you for letting me speak. It's about the geoengineering and the sky. Our soil, I have a garden, and my tomatoes aren't come to full maturity, and they're dying, and it's because our soil pH is off. They've done tests, and it's off. It's killing the little insects that help make the soil rich, and plus the air that we're breathing. I mean, you hear people, little kids wheezing and wheezing. And if we can't come to you with this problem, who do we go to? Because you're our air quality control. You know, where do we go if we can't get you guys to investigate it for us? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. The next speaker is Mr. Kent, followed by Ms. Thomas. Good morning.
Morning. How you guys doing?
On top of the world. How about
Good.
yourself?
Me too. Me
Good.
too. I'm kind of a simple guy. I'm not a scientist, and I don't know how all this stuff works. But, the questions I ask are, has our federal government been honest with us? At all? And are they actually spraying stuff? Well, I think anybody with common sense can look up at the sky and go, there's something going on here. I mean, I've been in the North State all my life, and I've been looking at the sky all my life, and it's only in the last few years that I've seen big trails coming out of planes that don't go away like condensation trails. So I don't know what they're doing, honestly. All I do is, I try to gather information from people that say they're experts. But I personally can't attest to any of this stuff other than to say common sense tells me, do I trust my federal government? And what the heck are they doing? And why is it such a secret program that's obviously happening? And why isn't it in the paper? Why isn't it on TV? The evidence is overwhelming that something's happening here. All you have to do is look up in the sky. Anybody with common sense can see it if you just look. So I don't know, but I think it warrants some kind of investigation as to what's really happening here. And if, what are the unintended consequences? And if we look at the federal government, which we're pretty sure at this point this is where the program's coming from, have they been deceiving us at all in any areas here lately? I mean, really. And it's not, something that you can just go, oh, well, we trust these guys. And so that's my point, and that's why I think you guys need to do a little homework on this and figure out what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Kent.
You bet.
Ms. Thomas, followed by Ms. Bradfield. Good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to be able to present to our board these issues that we have.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm going to talk, I do nutritional research, and I've done 40 years of that, and I got interested in this chemtrails. And the reason I got interested in it is because I have perfect health, take no medication, and never have in my life. And I came here, I was doing an outside project all of February and March and most of January. And now I'm going to start giving symptomologies. And at the end of this, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you've experienced...
Ms. Thomas, would you mind directing your comments to the board here?
Yeah, well, please? I'll ask you to raise your hand.
Okay.
Okay,
That'd
there
be
we
good.
go. Okay. And that is, what happened is, first of all, I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't get deep breaths. I started checking my blood pressure and it went up, even though it was normal. Then I noticed that in breathing, and this is from the aluminum and the barium, it goes in the nose and it penetrates right through the bone structure here and goes right into the forward lobes, and you experience Alzheimer's symptomology, where you can't remember, your tongue will just not wag when you want to say something. And then later on, you feel better, sort of vacillates back and forth. The other thing that happens is it goes right into your ear, the same passageway from the nose. It affects something in your ear. It's sort of an imbalance. It's not quite anything you've ever had before, but you just notice that when you walk, you want to put your feet kind of out further in order to keep balanced on it. Now, the other thing, that the barium is an electrical thing. And so it affects the cerebellum, the nerves down the spine, and the major nerves in your body. And the first place you're going to find that is in your legs. And your knees get kind of wobbly. I mean, they get weak. You feel like your knee's going to go out from under you, but you don't really fall. And that is caused from the main nerve that is being affected by the barite, which is a very electrical activated mineral. A weakness, and also in your legs, you notice that when you want to get up, your knees are weak. I mean, you have to push yourself up in the chair, and you think, what in the world is that all about? And if you happen to get out on all four knees, you got a real problem getting up. Now, that's pretty much it. But have you had any of these symptoms? And a fatigue. It's a particular kind of a fatigue. And even though you sleep, you're a little bit, it's not a deep sleep, it's an alert sleep because of the activation of the barite, the barium. Do any of you have these symptoms? Have you had them?
Apparently not, Ms.
Well, then you're pretty healthy. And I don't know why you're healthier than I am.
Fruits and vegetables, we eat a lot of those.
Well, so do I, or I wouldn't be as healthy as I am.
Ms. Thomas, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Ms. Bradfield, followed by Shelley, Cerasaro.
Yes, am I speaking into this?
Good morning.
Good morning. I've never come and presented before a board before, so I simply am going to stand here and look at each of you and say that decisions we make now impact not only us, but our children and our grandchildren. And as a healthcare provider, when I am listening to people, we have a lot of elders that are extremely sick. We have adults that are having all these symptoms that the woman ahead of me addressed. And we have so many children. You know, so for me it's my grandchildren's generation, but we have so many children who can't run and play, who aren't healthy. And we say go outside, but if the sun is going to do damage to them, or the air they breathe is going to do damage to them, or the water they're drinking. So, the decisions we make here and now impact not only us, but the next 7 generations. So I implore you to give that consideration when you look at taking a stand in behalf of the people. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Mrs. Nero, followed by Ms. Pappas. Please. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Shelley Cerasaro. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I've been practicing here in Reading since 2007. I've been practicing for 13 years. For 5 years, I practiced in Montana before I came back to my home city of Reading. And when I first returned to Reading, I did a heavy metal assessment on my blood, and I had no heavy metals. And then 2 years later, being in Reading, I did that same analysis, and my aluminum had gone up 33%. The barium and strontium had also gone up. So I'm virtually a lab experiment, and all of the citizens, including yourselves, are lab experiments happening in Northern California. I don't know why Northern California seems to receive much more aerosol spraying than many parts of the nation, but just through my travels and going to medical conferences, it seems to be apparent. You know, heavy metals are sort of like the gorilla in the room when it comes to our health. And you can't just get by on fruits and vegetables and exercise and water. You have to consider all of the influences that create health. And heavy metals are one of the weightiest concerns regarding endocrine cancers like prostate, breast, thyroid, ovarian, which are the most frequent cancers that are occurring in our society today. So, you know, how many of us in this room, how many of you at this board right now have parents, brothers, sisters, uncles, children, friends who are all, you know, experiencing cancer and are probably going to die of it eventually, if not sooner or later, because they don't know how to detox the heavy metals out of their system, and medical doctors aren't aware of it. I know how to do it. I know how to stay ahead of all of this. I know how to have a long, healthy, quality life, but most of you don't, and your fruits and vegetables aren't going to save you. My mother died of cancer. My sister died of cancer. My brother's on his way out. So if you think that you're going to escape this, you've got another guest coming, and you better start thinking twice about what you're taking for granted, because your time is just as short as the rest of ours if something doesn't change. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Pappas, followed by Ms. Lucero. Good morning, Ms. Pappas.
Good morning. My husband loves tomatoes. I don't particularly, but last year I went out and I was going to be the good little wife, and I was going to grow some tomatoes for him. And I went out and spent all kinds of money on soil and plants and everything, and I did not get one tomato. Not one. Now, I don't profess to be a gardener, but you would think that tomatoes are pretty easy to grow. I've grown them in the past. They don't take a lot of work. So anyway, Mr. Wigington says that he has test results that show that there are dangerously high levels of poisonous chemicals in our soil. The tests are fairly easy, and they're easy and they're inexpensive. I'm just asking that you agendize this and that you do your own testing, and I want you to prove Mr. Wigington wrong. And you said that you've sent a letter in 2008, and what has been done since then? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pappas. Our next speaker is Ms. Dolores Lucero, followed by Mr. Nelson. Good morning, Ms. Lucero.
Good morning. My concerns are everything happens in Shasta County. When you make a decision that it has an effect on the citizens, it's our concern and it's our right to come to you to tell you you need to do what's right for the citizens. Nobody should have to come up here and ask or beg and go over and over with you to plead for you to do the right thing. You talk about public safety, public health. Are you basically just saying the words, or do you mean them? Because so far from what I've seen, you don't mean what you say. You just say what you think the people need to hear. You're not doing your job. This has effect on these people. I just don't know. I mean, I am so sick of coming to complaining. I just wish the people would feel the same way and take action, just like they did in Egypt. They removed their president. If they can do that, why can't we? Citizens can do that. Why can't we do that? What are we waiting for? Remove these people who are affecting our lives, our health and safety. And they're coming after us constantly. And we ask ourselves, do we trust the government? Heck no. Why should we? Our own president, look what he's doing. You think you're going to do the right thing? I don't think so. It's time that the people need to get the courage and stand up and take these people out. You can't continue complaining. You see how many years you've been coming to these boards and meetings. They have control of how your health should be. You have a say. Where we shouldn't have you to have that control of our citizens on their health and safety. You have done nothing but cause problems. You made our people and children's life difficult. And it's time. It is time for you to be removed by the citizens. How much more can it get? How much more clear can it get that you don't seem to understand? Look at what the government, Mr. Obama, is doing, what they're doing. They're trying to kill us. They're basically trying to eliminate a lot of people here. That's what this thing is all about. They're spraying because they want to eliminate the weak people. Take those people out. The ones who do last, those are the ones you feel that you're going to be able to control. But people like me and people like who have faith in God and have faith that we could accomplish anything if we stood up and fight for justice. We need to fight for justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lucero. Next speaker is Mr. Nelson.
Good morning, Board. Jeff Nelson, resident of this county, born in Susanville. This is going sweet and short and fat. I was born in Susanville, raised in Northern California. I was a highway patrolman for a number of years, working in Southern California on a motorcycle. I gave up the motor and transferred because of the air quality down there. I could taste it on my mouth after riding my motor through that air down there. Transferred to Northern California. Later, became an airline pilot. I was a captain of one of the major airlines. The last 9 years, I was an instructor at their academy, and I taught weather as one of the issues. I know what a contrail is. It's a normal phenomenon. I can explain that all to you. It's no big scientific deal. And when I first heard about this, I kind of thought it was malarkey. I didn't believe it. But I started looking up. And what I started finding was they are spraying something up there. There's no doubt in my mind. It's not a natural phenomenon. They are doing some chemical device up there. I don't know what the effects are. I'm not a scientist. I deal with facts, but I just want to make sure that you understand they are spraying something up there. And they generally, as I watch, it'll most prevalent just before a weather front moves in. We're just experiencing one possibly coming in. And I'll bet you anything, just before it arrives, you'll start seeing these contrails. They're not contrails, chemical trails, whatever they are, but they don't go away. And some days you'll see these big cloud lines across the sky, and then you see a little short one following behind a jet. That's a normal phenomena. Those big long ones, that's not normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the request to speak. Are there any other requests in the audience? Anybody like to come forward?
I'd like to. And I'll sign it later if you want. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Mr. Keel, I realize I'm very short.
Good morning. My name is Tom Slade. I came from Lake County, and in 2002, April, I became aware of the spraying in our sky, and I started videoing daily, spring, summer, and fall for 4.
Mr. Slade, is it S-L-A-T-E?
S-L-A-I-G-H-T.
Thank you, sir.
And so I videoed daily, spring, summer, fall for 4 years, 02, 03, 04, and 05, and collected a lot of information, and some of my videos have been used in other video productions, and I've been to our Board of Supervisor meetings, I believe 20 times. And this is my perspective, but I think I've literally gotten verbal attacks, had the microphone cut when I was just speaking, probably even calmer than I am now. The microphone to the TV broadcast, not to because it wasn't cut in the room. These people have been given, in my opinion, far too much information to ignore it. And one of the ideas is, what is their job? What I have been asking for numerous times is openness, honesty, and full disclosure. It seems to me that is a normal expectation for air quality and our Board of Supervisors. And one thing I've heard, we've been told, well, nothing is going on. There's no spraying, there's no geoengineering or weather modification. And my thoughts are to that, well, anybody who would make a statement like that must have significant verifiable knowledge of every plane, everywhere, every day, and every night. And I truly don't believe anybody has that information. And if they're making claims that they can't, not only can't back up, it seems reasonably, can't even know, it seems to me, that appears to me to be a lie. And so this is going on in Lake County, and I used to speak to them very politely. Of course, you always speak to people politely until the verbal attacks, and now I just speak to them bluntly, but not disrespectfully. And I didn't have a closing line because I hadn't prepared to speak. Oh, yes, I do. I think at this point, with some exceptions, of course, but generally speaking, at this point, after all these years, nobody is fooling anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please come forward. And if you'll give us your name, please.
Yeah, Sylvia Milligan.
Ms. Milligan.
No. 45 years of Mrs. Milligan.
Well, good. Mrs. Milligan,
Yes.
Good to see you this morning.
Thank you. This is really remarkable coming and listening to this morning because, as you know, I'm really into recreation and getting people out, getting them moving, spending their money to increase the revenues for the communities. And this kind of is all coming together because I do a lot of research on recreation and what affects recreation and what their next tactic is to try to get us out of the forest and such. And I had received information several years ago about the pollution of the higher elevations, the lakes and whatever, and how they were looking at stopping motorized recreation on the lower elevations because of this problem. And I said, wait a minute, this stuff doesn't run uphill. Something else is going on. So now I can see what they were talking about all these pollutants that are coming to our mountains. And I'm wondering, gee, If they've already noted that in the mountain areas, how long will it be before they say, maybe we need to close Shasta Lake because it's highly polluted with all these metals? How many other things are they eventually going to ask us to close? Maybe we better look into this a little closer. I kind of, put it aside because I have so many things going on. But I think maybe the time has come to start doing some research so we know that when we talk to people, we can do it with an educated voice. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lydia Reed, and as you can see, air quality is very important to me. My husband and I have been coughing and sneezing a lot. What is this doing to our children and our grandchildren? I've also noticed there's several rare forms of cancer in our area. Young people, young boys, coming down with a rare form of cancer. Is this because of what's happening to our air quality? You'd have to be deaf, dumb, and blind not to notice the irregular clouds in the skies. The weather across the nation has been radical, to say the least. I've lived in Shasta County for 35 years, and I've never seen the temperature so high for so long a time. What is the Air Quality Board doing to meet these concerns, and how are you helping us to fix it? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. That concludes our public comment period open time. We will now go. Mr. Baugh.
Thank you, Chair Kehoe. 2008 has been a long time, and the Board of Supervisors at that time did review a lot of information. I'd like to refer this to staff to if you would, let's resurrect the information that was presented. And we have a new board. It consists of the City of Anderson and the City of Reading now, not just Shasta County, and supply the information and also any communications to the existing board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Baugh. The next item on the agenda is the consent calendar.